David Brown, the charismatic post-war owner of Aston Martin, had let it be known that he really wanted to win the Le Mans 24-hour race in a car of his own manufacture. He tried pretty hard with the DB2 and the DB3, and for that matter, the Lagonda V12. But it wasn't until Ted Cutting, his designer, came up with this, the DB3S, that he came close. In 1955, one of his cars came second overall to the factory D-Type that won the race. The DB3S was a pretty simple car, really. It's got a ladder chassis, crossed-braced. There's twin trailing arm front suspension on torsion bars, very similar to Dr. Ferdinand Porsche's ideas for the Auto Union Grand Prix car. In the rear, well, it's got a de Dion tube and a sliding block suspension. Pretty simple stuff. And of course, the whole car is clothed in this lovely, lightweight aluminium body, painted in this Aston Martin green. The engine, well, it's a trusty six-cylinder Lagonda unit. Kicked off with something like 180 horsepower perhaps, but by the time they'd finished with it, well, they fitted enormous valves into here. It's got twin plug ignition, twin overhead cams, of course. This one's on distributor ignition. The ubiquitous Weber twin choke carburetors, all producing about 240 horsepower, but enough to make this car go very quickly down the straight at Le Mans, and of course it handled so well. Now this is chassis number 8. Peter Collins drove this car in the TT at Goodwood, and he also drove it in the 9 hours. And if there was one race that the DB3S made its own, it was the Goodwood 9 hours. And whilst this car perhaps wasn't as successful in big international races as it might have been, what it did do is teach both David Brown and his most excellent team manager, John Wyer, all about long-distance racing, so that the next car that they produced, the DBR1, stood a far better chance of doing what David Brown wanted.